What's up, Mortgage Coach community? Dave Savage here, and I have a very special guest today, Trevor Moawad. Trevor, you don't know the backstory on how I found your book, but my son, who's a senior in high school this year, is playing lacrosse for Syracuse next year. And going into the year, we were like, the most important thing this year, keep working out, be a great team leader, but get good in the head, like really work on, being your best when it matters most. So I came across your book and absolutely love it. So nice to meet you, my friend.
Dave, it's a privilege to join you. Yeah, and congratulations on your son too. The Syracuse, it's a great league, great lacrosse up in the Northeast. And, I know with Florida State football, we played up at Syracuse a number of times. So it is way the hell up there. But anyways, excited to join you, excited to join your community today.
Well, I'm excited to have you because I've read your book. I did the audio book, and it was one of those books like, there's books where you skim it for the big idea, and then there's books that you read the whole thing. And your book was one of those books where I read the whole thing. And the big goal was just reduce the amount of negative things. I think you said stupid shit people say out loud. Could you tell that story a little bit and then help bring that lesson to our space?
Yeah, I think a couple early stories stand out. One of the interesting things is sometimes now as I spend time in the business community, they'll look at sports and say, well, how does that relate to business? Well, sports is the ultimate business. It's an EBITDA-driven business where you win, hundreds of millions of dollars change when you can build a program can win. It changes enrollment. When you look at Clemson, their enrollment's up, I think, over 400%. People want to go to Clemson, South Carolina because the football program wins. I didn't decide the rules. I didn't understand it. I'm from the West Coast. I've lived half my life in the South. But, like when I got my first Alabama game, I remember looking around like, what's wrong with these people? But it is big business. And it is massive and it is huge. And our players and our organizations are big. And, about 35% of our coaches in pro sports are fired every year. In my 19 years in pro sports, I've never signed more than a 1-year contract. And Sports Illustrated says I'm the best in the world at this. And I've never signed more than a 1-year contract. There is no sports psychology. There are no Tony Robbins. There are no Grant Cardones. Nobody like that exists in sports. There is no self-help industry. It's the best of the best. And there's very few people that have done, had the opportunity to even have a job like I have in sports. And, a lot of that credit goes, obviously my early years to Tom Coughlin, but Nick Saban was a big believer. He'd been utilizing different resources for a long period of time.
Yeah, no, that's so powerful, especially in today's market. People are, whining about things. The news is full of things that do not make us our best. And I think just about every leader in the mortgage business would love to create a better culture, a more positive culture, and just getting people to stop saying the wrong things out loud.
But you're missing it. You're like, it's not a more positive culture. It's a less negative culture. That's the win.
Got it.
Because when you tell people you've got to be more positive, I went through a divorce with like the most amazing person in the world. And when people told me like, hey man, just stay positive. Think of all the people you get to meet. All it did was just piss me off. I got married not to meet people. So I wasn't at that state. I couldn't make that jump. And a lot of times positive thinking, it requires us to move to point B way before we're ready to. Hey, just stay positive. We're going to get through this time. Well, like not being negative is your first step. You want to come to the University of Alabama and you want to learn to eat from Amy Bragg, the top nutritionist in the world. The first thing you're going to learn is not to eat well. It's how to not eat shitty. That's the first thing. And the first thing you'll be told is if you can order it, if you can pull up and order it with your mouth, let's stop that for 3 months, or some finite amount of time. And just that step, you can still go to Subway, you still go to other places, but any place that you can order through a drive-thru, you stop. Just by doing something like that, you're taking a huge step by limiting your options. So, and people that are going to say, well, what about venting? I need to vent, Dave. There's no science that says venting helps you. I think the second point with negativity is the externalization. The second part is consumption. We watch 3 minutes of cable news. It increases our probability by 27%. We'll say we had a terrible day. That's just the truth. It doesn't make it right or wrong. But in the military, in some of the cool places I've been, they take courses like modern media that teach you, this is CNN, this is MSNBC, this is the BBC, this is CNBC. This is who spends money advertising with them, and that's who they're responsible to. There are consequences to controllable negativity. When you're surrounded by assholes, there's nothing you can do. Sometimes you have customers that are really tough. You deal with it, you manage with it as best you can. But to the degree that you can control it, that's all it takes. What it takes does. As much as neutral thinking is a big part of it, what it proves is that negativity works negatively, and not so much the inside. There's a path to dealing with that, but you got to focus on the controllable parts first, what you say and what you watch.
Yeah, and what your actions are. So let's close out on it takes what it takes. So guys, you're mortgage professionals. If you're watching this, if you're part of the mortgage coach community, you either are the best of the best or you want to be the best of the best. That's why you're here. You would not be watching this if you were not one of those two people. And let's just close out on the concept of it takes what it takes. And some of the, I think you called it mental advertising. Like get clear on who you want to be and what are the best of the best doing. Let's just close out on why it takes what it takes and what do the best of the best do when it comes to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you study the science of influence, that's one of the things we wanted to learn early on, right? When you have employees, when you have athletes, when you have people that are working for you, you have a son. The simple fact of the matter is, what's my influence over me versus Dave's influence over me? And the science says I'm 10 times more influential over myself than you are. So other people can market to you. You can do it. You can believe, hey, make this many outgoing calls. This is how you follow up. This is how you sustain a relationship. This is how you build it. This is the software. But at the end of the day, what you believe to be true about you is going to be most powerful. So that's important. What I say out loud about what I can do. And for us, we don't really set outcome goals. Everything's based upon a process. Everything's based upon how we do it, because we think during the course of a game, the scoreboard can be deceptive, but not what we're doing. So if we're down 17 points, we can still go out and play with a lower pad level. We can explode. We can accelerate. We can compete more. Whether we're winning or losing, that's what we want to focus on, the behavior. If we focus only on the outcomes and we're down 17 points, then it's easy to give up. So where you're at the end of Q2, is relative to your circumstances, which have been challenging, but where you could be at the end of Q3 or Q4, which we call neutral thinking. Hey, the past is real, but it's not predictive. So I think to your point, what's going to drive your success is going to be how you influence you and getting behind the best behaviors. Vince Carter, the basketball player, is the one that sort of gave me the phrase, it takes what it takes. And we were having a conversation. One of the programs I'd been to, had a bunch of athletes that got in trouble, and it happens from time to time. And he was like, how many of those guys want to be pro players? And I said, probably 7 out of 10. He says, and isn't it crazy that they think they could do whatever they want and be, make it to the, professional football? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, he said, I'm 39 years old, and to play in the NBA, there's a set amount of things I'll either do or I won't do. I don't eat fast food anymore. I don't eat the snacks in the game day. I lift during the day of a game. I don't dunk as often in the game because I can't get back on fast. I sleep as fast. I sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. And I said, so what do you mean? Like there are no choices? Like choices in illusion? He said, yeah. Once you decide you want to go somewhere, you either do it or you don't. It takes what it takes. The path has already been predetermined. There have already been people who've done your job years before you did it, Dave, that were already really good. And there's nothing wrong if people don't want to do it, but it's when we want to go to bed at 5 and shortcut the process and then get mad when we don't get the outcomes, so it may take longer, but the best advice I can have is one of the cool things my dad always said to me is a year from now, you might wish you started today, so how does everybody looks at athletes and wants to say that they have some superhuman gifts that they just weren't bestowed with. That's not true. And how many people have you seen in your industry, Dave, that, maybe didn't have the aptitude that other people had, or the looks or the style or the whatever, and yet they kill it year in, year out because they do their job, and I think that that's the key thing. What makes people perform at a high level is successful people do what unsuccessful people don't like to do. There's no magic. And if you look at, go back to Albert E.N. Gray, the common denominator of success in the insurance industry in the 1940s, where that sort of statement came out of, he really says it all. And it's a paper, it's about 15 pages, what makes great insurance salesmen. And he established, they do the things that great insurance salesmen do, and he outlines those things. And for he or she listening to this, either live right now, which is awesome because they're within that community, or, hear this eventually, do an inventory of what you're doing and how that relates to what's good in your industry. But my last point, Dave, would be, so many people think a great athlete is all these things that he or she does, when in reality, I think what separates the best from the people that haven't got there yet is not what they do, but what they're willing not to do, what they're willing not to eat, what they're willing not to watch, what they're willing not to listen to, how they're willing not to watch ESPN during their season. They're willing not to eat after 8:00 at night. By not doing those things, they're willing not to say when they're frustrated, I suck and I'm never going to be able to get this thing done. They don't associate around negative people. They choose not to hang out in those environments where they can control it. By not doing, if people think about the 5 things they could not do right now, those things they could not do might hold the key to taking them to the next level and or changing their life as a parent, as a performer, as an athlete, as a health activist, as a mortgage broker in real estate finance, or as a realtor in commercial, real estate, whatever type of real estate you're working in. So those are some things I challenge. It takes what it takes. If you want to read the book, HarperCollins did it. My editor did Shoe Dog right before she did my book. So from Phil Knight, I felt like it was a little bit of a downgrade going from Phil Knight to me, but we had some fun with it. And also did Tim Grover's book, Attack. So I had a great group. It's really simple. It's 3 hours on Audible, and it's about 200 pages. And the whole book's designed to be simple. I think the self-help industry is like this bragging rights thing to be as fucking hard as it can possibly be, so nobody gets it. That's not what we want to do. We wanted you to read it and say, man, that makes sense. I could do that right now. Or I don't want to do that. And that's okay too.
So I would love Mortgage Coach community. This is a book you need to read, you need to listen to. And then here's my challenge to you. This is a book we teach you, be leaders. The best mortgage professional is a teacher. So Trevor, if we wanted to buy a case, like if a loan officer wanted to buy a case, give it to their realtors, do a little book club with them, where would they go to get a case of these books? I know where to get one book. I think
we have some on wholesale at www.thinkbig-gofar.com/book. www.thinkbig-gofar.com/book. But
link down below.
Yep. And but you could also go anywhere, HarperCollins, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place, and you could order them in bulk. They're we just came out in February, but it's a Wall Street Journal bestseller, which was awesome. That was a big goal for me. Personally, that if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And my ghostwriter, Andy Staples, the top college football writer in sports. And it's about a lot more than sports. I know Dave can tell you that. And while it can help his son, I think this idea that you would learn more about neutral thinking, I think is really powerful. You can also follow me. I'm new to social media, so I'm kind of catching up, at Trevor Moawad, TrevorMoawad on Instagram. Instagram, I understand. LinkedIn, I have no clue. I'm trying to figure that thing out. And Twitter, but at Trevor Moawad, TrevorMoawad. And we have a really cool B2C business, and at thinkbig-gofar.com. I could, and then I'm booked many times through leading authorities in keynotes or leading authorities or Limitless Minds. for people who are looking for that. But my number one goal is you don't ever need to call me again. You don't ever need to read the book, that you got something out of the 35 minutes we did today. And I think the next step for you would be to read the book and be mindful. And my best advice is don't be a serial reader. You know, people read my book and say, what can I read next? No, man, just fucking follow the book. You know, you can't, like, I believe this, you can be overeducated. At some point, you've got to pick a philosophy and adhere to it. And learning is a fluid and a continual process, but you got to have your way you go about it and supplement it and become confident. If you're going to be a neutral thinker, if you're going to follow, you know, our system, which I don't think is a philosophy, I think it's a way to live. I think it's a way to battle health challenges. I think it's a way to be successful. I think it's a way to navigate adversity and to also navigate many people whose success becomes their adversity. You know,
absolutely.
So hopefully that can be helpful to you. And all our website, you know, or my social media is different things to help you. I mean, you know, and hopefully, and I'm not Tony Robbins or Ed Milet or a lot of these guys who've made a lot more money. I love Ed Milet, just did his podcast, and I know your community loves a lot of these guys that have 6 homes. And, you know, I rent a place. I mean, I've obviously owned some cool homes. Now I'm obviously living in Manhattan Beach, figuring out where I'm going to live full time. But, you know, I've been in the world just working, you know, and I'm proud of it. And now we're trying to get the message out more ubiquitously and to the degree that we can be helpful and equally helpful to your kids and your families in the same way we were with you, Dave. We're excited. And I think as you think about going forward, this idea of staying neutral, we really don't know what's going to happen next. But focus on the things you can do, the behaviors you can do to keep you psychologically healthy, physically healthy. And if you're furloughed or if you're going through some challenges right now, things that can keep you in your best position. So when things do normalize, you're in the best position to put your best foot forward.
So guys, I love this. I hope you wrote down neutral thinking. I hope you're going to really audit yourself in terms of what you're saying out loud, because it has so much more impact. Not just, we can't always control what we think, but we can control what we say.
Yes.
And you can control the actions. 34% of the best loan officers use Mortgage Coach to deliver a family of total cost analysis. Go beyond the minimum standard. All the best of the best have to go beyond that. So Trevor, I appreciate you taking time to come in and bring your stories, bring your lessons, bring your passion. Hopefully we get you on a couple stages in the mortgage business, and you can bring some negative thinking, or not negative, you can bring some neutral thinking, and it takes what it takes to the mortgage space. So thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Be a privilege. Thank you.